Hi, I'm Becca from The Clever Teacher, and in this video, I will show you how to analyze your standards and group them into units. Now, fair warning, this bit takes some time, but I promise you it will save you so much time and energy down the road if you do it now before your year begins. As a review, in the last video, we set up the long-range plan template by adding the dates, adding breaks, and counting up how many weeks of instructional time we actually have. So in the example that I'm doing, I discovered I have 30 weeks to teach before state testing and about 31 to 33 instructional weeks in all. Okay, the next step is to find your standards. So for this example, I'm looking at the Arizona 5th grade social studies standards that look a little bit like this. I highly recommend copying the standards and pasting them into a Word document or a Google Doc. That way it's a lot easier to read and you can highlight and you can format it. So when you first copy and paste it, it's going to look a bit wacky. I recommend spending 5 minutes and going through and adding headings, splitting up the text, adding bullet points, just so it's really easy to read. Okay, the next step is to read your standards thoroughly, and I have a trick that I think will help you. So when I read the standards, I highlight them in 2 different colors. In yellow, I highlight the what. What am I teaching? So this is like the Civil War, this is causes of the American Revolution, this is westward expansion. 3 tips: look for things like key concepts, look for any time periods, and look for verbs like describe or explain. The second color I used is green, and this is for the how. So how am I teaching the Civil War? These are the skills. For this one, look for higher level verbs like analyze, compare, evaluate, infer, etc. And when you're doing this, think big picture. Don't get lost in the weeds. It's not going to be perfect, but just try to keep it big picture. Okay, I'll give you some examples. So this is Arizona 5th grade standards. It goes from American Revolution to the late 1900s. It starts here: students understand the history of the United States, and it lists these eras: American Revolution, Constitution, westward expansion, Civil War, Reconstruction, and then industrialization. I highlighted all of these in yellow because these are the content, what I'm teaching. And then it goes on. It has a lot about the Constitution. It has a lot about civics. This part is a little more information about that early Republic era with immigration and the Industrial Revolution. And then it starts listing some skills here. This is more civics. Okay, examination of primary and secondary sources, including written and oral histories, images, artifacts. You will probably have something like this in your state standards. So this is the how. So for example, you're teaching about the Civil War and Reconstruction through primary and secondary sources. Here's another one: inclusion of historical fiction, images, books, graphic novels, and informational text. So you're teaching about westward expansion through informational text, through graphic novels. And then these new Arizona state standards have a lot of skills listed, like create and use a chronological sequence of events, explain how events of the past affect students' lives and society. So what I want you to think about when you have skills like this is, I think it's best to weave this into all of your units. So for example, you don't want to just have one lesson where students explain how events of the past affect their lives today. You want this to be like a theme that comes up throughout all of your units, ideally. So that's why I highlighted them in a different color, because I'm not really going to use them right now when I'm deciding what the unit titles are, but I am going to make sure that I have them ideally in every single unit. Another skill, perspective taking, And then here it says key individuals and groups can include but are not limited to loyalists and patriots, federalists and anti-federalists. Now we're back to the content of like, these are the people you need to make sure to teach about. Again, content, key issues and events that you need to teach about. And it goes on and on and on. So then there's a whole civics section, an economics section, geography, history. Okay. Once you have thoroughly read and highlighted, I want you to take everything that's highlighted in yellow and group that into big ideas of what your units are going to be. So the way I'm going to start with Arizona, I'm going to go back up to the overview and start here with these time periods. Okay, so we have American Revolution, the Constitution / Constitutional Convention. I'm also going to add civics. I'm just going to call this U.S. Constitution / civics because there's a lot about civics. We have westward expansion. I'm also going to add early republic because I noticed the standards. Actually, you know what? This part, the industrialization and urban America, I'm going to add it here. Early republic / industrial revolution. Okay. This is not all the big ideas though. I also saw geography. There's like a whole economics section. Let's see. Because it went so into civics, I feel like it would be good to also have something on elections and like how we participate, citizenship, all of that. Westward expansion, Civil War, early republic. I'm also going to put these in chronological order because that's the way I want to teach them. Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at what resources I have. For this example, of course, I'm using the Clever Teacher unit since those are the units I created. So I know for geography, that's a 3-week unit. For econ, that's a 3-week unit. American Revolution, well, I have an American Revolution unit that's like the events leading to the war, and then there's a Revolutionary War unit. Both of those are 3-week units, so that would be 6. Okay, the Constitution unit is 3 weeks. The elections unit is 1 week. The early republic unit is 3 weeks. Westward expansion is 3. And if you want more information on these, you can refer to the pacing guide that's linked in the long range plan template. It's at the very top. And then Civil War is 3 weeks. Okay, now I know I have 30 weeks of instruction before testing. And so if I add these up, 18, this is 25 weeks, which I love that. Because that means that I have a little bit of wiggle room to expand some of these units. I can take more time on lessons. I can have some lessons span 2 days. So I'm definitely going to add a week here to the geography unit because I think I'm going to teach that first. And at the beginning of the year, I feel like everything goes slower. Like lessons just take longer because you're still training your students. So I'm going to add a week there. I'm going to add a week to the American Revolution units because there's some really fun simulations that the students love, and I just want to make sure I have enough time to do that. Same with westward expansion. There's some fun simulations, like there's the Oregon Trail one, there's a Gold Rush game. I want to make sure the kids can get to all of that, so we're going to add a week, and then I think I need to do one more. What did I do? 1, 2, 3. Oh, I need to do 2 more. I'm going to add 1 to the Constitution because it seemed to be very heavily weighted in the standards. And then I feel like Civil War is such a big topic that we're going to add a week there. Okay, I think that I am now at 30 weeks. So one more thing, I also noticed because the standards had so many skills that were really a lot of ELA skills, like infer, summarize, like take different perspectives, write your opinion, like respond in writing. I'm definitely going to use, if I was teaching this, I would use my US History Quote of the Week resource, because that gets kids to practice those higher level skills over and over. And that way we're constantly like reinforcing those skills. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how you take this plan and put it on your long range template, so that you know exactly which week you are teaching which topic. I hope this was useful.